Work session meeting of the San Marcos City Council to order. It is 3 p.m. on Tuesday, October 17th of 2023. Ms. Trevino, would you call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Prather. Mr. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Gleason.
Here.
Mayor Houston.
Here.
Ms. Garza.
I'm here.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
And Mr. Mendoza.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
Okay, and first is citizen comment. The City Council welcomes speakers at work sessions and regular meetings. If you wish to speak at the citizen comment or Q&A portion of the work session, you need to have signed up online, or you can sign up at the city clerk's office. Either way, the deadline is noon the day of the meeting. If you request to speak online, we give you a call-in number and a link. Speakers may speak once during the citizen comment time period and may not yield time to others. If you speak now about a public hearing topic, we ask that you not repeat the exact same comments again during the public hearing on the same topic. You will have 3 minutes to speak that begin when you state your name. A timer is displayed on the screen. You'll see that you're in the green, and when you have 20 seconds left, you will be in the yellow, and when the timer turns red and the automated bell rings, your time is up. The mayor and council will endeavor to ensure that meetings are conducted in a courteous manner and in an atmosphere free of defamation, intimidation, personal insults, profanity, or threats of violence. Be aware that we do not interact at this time period, so if you ask questions, we will write those down, but we do not answer those during citizen comment. So, Ms. Trevino, who is our first speaker? Carolyn Lone, I do not see it. But Carolyn Lone, if you will come to the podium, you can pull that microphone down so that you can, I think I had it in my hand and I left it somewhere. Thank you. And after you say your name, you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, my name's Carolyn Lone. I live out on Highway 21. I have 10.01 acres, and I'm here today to find out exactly what any new restrictions are coming about that might affect my property. Also, because I am in the ETJ, I found that out when I tried to sell part of my property. I have owned this property for 50 years. We built our house, and my house is 46 years old, and I'm a widow now, and I am retired after 50 years of teaching. So I am in need of a little bit of money. So I was going to sell 2 acres off the back of my property. Every time I have gone about to do something to keep myself afloat, the city of San Marcos has stepped in and said, no, you can't. And I'm trying to find out what I can do since I have spent 50 years paying for this property. And I need the money to live on. I spent 30 years in San Marcos schools, a year in San Antonio where I paid both Social Security and teacher retirement, but I don't get my Social Security, because I retired on the teacher retirement system. I don't get my husband, who passed away. I didn't get anything from him. Every few years, my income was cut by half. So I'm trying to think of my land as an investment for my future. And I wanted to sell 2 acres off of my property. Everybody else has done that in that area, but they're telling me I cannot. I tried to put a business on it. Can't do that. I had someone who was going to buy 2 acres and build a tiny home on it, pay for the survey, pay for the closing costs, and the purchase of the land. I could not hire a surveyor. I tried 4 different surveyors. They said, we cannot work with San Marcos. They said, and 2 of them had surveyed my land before. One said, I'll have to ask the city. I don't get any city services. not even during the floods. That's it. My time's up.
If you would leave your name, phone number, and email address with the city clerk for us, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sharon Peters.
My name is Sharon Peters. My parents own Pecan Plantation Mobile Home Park, which is affected by the vote coming up regarding the airport zoning areas around that area, which is similar to their situation. I know my brother came to the last city council meeting and discussed this, and I wanted to come again to point out some things. I don't know if he mentioned or not. It seems very strange to our family that the city could potentially come in and change the zoning on property that's been unrestricted for a very long time and has been residential for a very long time, and provide no compensation for that change and reduction in the property value. My parents purchased this property in 1992. It's approximately 54 acres. Approximately 20 acres of that is undeveloped, to a degree that there are no houses on it. I will say that there are currently on that 20 acres 40 septic tanks. There are also 40 water meters that have been prepaid for an extension of this mobile home park. With this discussion of not being able to do any more residential development, I don't know if that causes them to have lost all that money that they paid for those water meters and those septic tanks or not, because while there are no houses, there is some infrastructure for an expansion already in place. So we're hoping that that would be grandfathered in. My parents in 2021 had signed a letter of intent to sell the property, and before my dad had a change in health. And at the time, a significant portion of the discussion of the value of the property had to do with the expansion possibilities of the mobile home park. We are told that you can no longer expand the mobile home park and cannot do any residential use, that significantly decreases the potential future value or current value of the mobile home park. Again, had my dad not had a change of health, I'm sure we would have sold the park. But because of that change, it was not sold, and we are here sitting with this situation of potential significant loss in value of this property if we're no longer able to either expand the mobile home park ourselves or offer that for future use for any potential buyers. So again, one discussion would be to either not pass this, considering without at least some consideration of compensation for nearby homeowners would be affected by this. Or in our specific case, we would be asked if we could be grandfathered in for our section that already does have infrastructure having been spent. The FAA does have some recommendations regarding providing compensation in situations like this, but it doesn't seem the city has considered that at all, which we find very upsetting. I know during the last city council meeting, we were told the engineer would contact us because there's a dispute of whether 3 acres that they're saying is owned by the airport is not. We never did hear about. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Robert Peters.
My name is Robert Peters. I live at 36 Mill Road, Maxwell, Texas. Before I do anything else, I must say I have two of the most wonderful children in the world. I have my daughter right here that speaks eloquently. I have my son that speaks eloquently. And they say they learn from their dad, but that's not true. I've just barely managed to get along in life. But we did manage to buy the mobile home park in 1992, 31 years ago. 31 years we've been on 155 septic tanks. 31 years we've never had a code violation on a septic tank. Everybody says septic tanks are crap. Well, we say septic tanks are very good and useful if they're used wisely and if the people know what they're doing. We have 40 septic tanks right now that were partially developed in 1987 through 1988. About the time the gentleman was developing the park, he would buy water meters, 40 or 50 at a time, septic tanks 40 or 50 at a time, and install them, develop them, and then buy some more. He bought 198 water meters, of which we approximately have 155 water meters being used at this time. We have 155 septic tanks being used at this time approximately. What happened to the other 40? Why didn't they get developed? Here we're talking about 1987, 1988. This is 2023. Well, what happened is you had a financial collapse of colossal proportions in the Austin area in the mid 80s. Banks collapsed in San Marcos. The U.S. The Bank of America, where they're located now, I think was Norwest Bank. Norwest Bank collapsed. I think the one across the street collapsed. Many mobile home parks went bankrupt, including this one. Many in San Marcos area, I'm talking about. Many RV parks went bankrupt in San Marcos area. And as people finally bought them, they finally got straightened out. We gave you a brochure today about Pecan Plantation. We think it's one of the finest mobile home parks there is. You look on the front, we have a covered swimming pool. Who had a covered swimming pool in San Marcos? How many of the mobile home parks were bought by others where they actually filled in the swimming pools in San Marcos? How many other mobile home parks in San Marcos that were bought by others? People, I wouldn't say that I would, maybe I can't say anything defamatory, I apologize, that filled in a playground. We didn't do any of that stuff. We've done everything right. We have good people. We have the lowest probably rent anywhere around, and we have people, if they own their own home, a lot of people right now in our park are paying $400 a month. That's affordable living. We want to continue to build our park in a proper way and a good way for people that live in this area. We want to develop those 40 mobile home lots that have the.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Your time is up.
Thanks so much for having me.
Our next speaker is Sarah Lone.
Hi, my name is Sarah Lone, and I live with my mother, Carol, out on Highway 21. I'm here today mostly to find out exactly what the city council here in San Marcos is proposing for our land that we've had in our family since I was an infant. I would like to make sure that if you guys are coming in and saying that we can't do something with our land that is going to benefit our family, I don't see how that could be right, because when we purchased our land, it was unrestricted. It was something that my parents planned to pass down to their children so that we could have a nest egg in our family. It's something that my mom wanted to have as a safety net for her in her retirement. And right now she's struggling to find buyers, to find avenues to use this land, because everywhere we turn, people say, we don't want to do business with you. We don't want to interact with you on your land purchase because of the city of San Marcos. So the city of San Marcos has a reputation out there that they are not cooperative to developers, to homeowners, etc. And so we're here today just to hear what you have to say and to hopefully fight for what's right for our family. Thank you.
And that concludes our citizen comment time period. And we will move on to our first presentation. Mr. Vino.
Receive a staff presentation, hold discussion regarding the city's garbage collection services contract, and provide direction to the city manager.
Ms. Reyes.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Our presentation this afternoon looks at the history of our current contract for garbage services, reviews prior direction from City Council, and outlines numerous options moving forward. We have had a contract with our current provider, Texas Disposal Systems, since 2003. Although it has been the same provider, there have been multiple modifications and amendments made to the contract as services were added and contract extensions were exercised. The last time City Council discussed this topic in 2021, direction was received to proceed with the request for proposal in 2024. This presentation will ask Council to confirm that direction to proceed with the RFP process. It will also discuss the timeline for doing such, or if you would like to exercise the second 5-year extension option we have on the current contract. In addition, we will go over some options we seek to include in the contract to increase waste diversion in our community. I would now like to turn it over to Ms. Amy Tomites, Community Enhancement Initiatives Manager, who will be providing today's presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. Again, Amy Tomites. I manage the Resource Recovery Program, which has multiple contracts and multiple programs within it. As City Manager Reyes said, we're going to review the prior council direction and receive council input on our future garbage service, whether this be going out for an RFP or doing that 5-year extension, because these are things that we can add to that. So, again, background, in 2003, we did the initial contract with TDS. In 2008 was our first 5-year extension. In 2015, we did a lot of massive additions, a pay-as-you-throw program, a green waste program, and we were having issues with making sure we were budgeting correctly because it wasn't set to our fiscal year. So we decided to adjust it to the fiscal year. And with that, we proposed that we just do another contract with 2 5-year extensions, which is what council approved at the time. In 2020, we went to the first 5-year extension. There was conversation, and council was interested in going out for bid in 2025 when the second term would be coming up. So we're going to go through just some options, and then we'll ask for council direction. So I just want to remind council and the public that our current garbage rate is not just the curbside garbage rate or a contract that or the rate we pay our contractor for that. It includes Green Guy Recycling, where people can turn in stuff. It includes the household hazardous waste, the pharmaceutical drop-offs, community cleanups, administration and education, because we do a lot of educational outreach, and then our new reuse warehouse, plus the brush drop-off and all the mulch that's available for our residents. So we have done a lot in expanding this program since 2015. With all the stuff, we've got a very innovative group, and so just a reminder that that whole garbage rate that you see on your utility bill is not just this that we're talking about today. So future garbage services and the direction we want to go with trying to expand on our landfill diversion that's in our municipal solid waste comprehensive plan. So residential, oh my God, I can't even really see that. We have the 96, 65, and then the 35-gallon carts. We want to keep that as is, but for recycling in our contract, we have a 96-gallon and a 35-gallon. Now, we added these 35 gallons in all of them because of Kissing Tree that we added. Being a definite senior community, they really couldn't push those bigger carts. And what we've found from our community is that they really like the 35-gallon carts, or maybe it's not quite enough and they would like to have a 65-gallon, but a 96 isn't, it's just too big and too bulky for them. So that goes for all of them. So the trash cart, keeping it the same, just making sure we're adding the language that it would have the 35, 65, and 96-gallon. Same for the recycling, to have all 3 of those cart sizes. Currently, we have every other week recycling service. We'd like to keep it that way based on research we did in 2020. We had 70% participation in the curbside recycling, but with our current provider, we can put out 3 cardboard boxes for free with loose recycling and without an extra charge, and we're just maybe asking it to be 4 because we do have those people who would like to do every week recycling, and I just think maybe having 4 cardboard boxes that would fit would be a little more convenient for them. Green waste service is also every other week. We have had requests for that to be every week. Really want to keep it the same. Participation was not 70%, it was about 50%. And we can put up to 12 paper yard bags, which is perfect. It's not overloading and doesn't take as much time for the drivers because they do have to put those in the cart to service it. So 12 is perfect. I know before we had a limit, I used to put out like 20 or 21, and so that takes a little bit more time. So keeping it at 12, it helps when we have the big fall leaf problem, but other than that, it's been working great. So the other things we have are bulk pickups. We have 4 3 cubic yards for our residents. We do have a lot of people use it, and I'd like to keep it this way. I think we have that popularity, but also when we have some weird rain events like we did in April of 2017, and we had a neighborhood that got hit, maybe not all the residents had to put stuff out, but a few of them did, and we worked with our provider to say, hey, can we just use the extra bulk pickups we're not using on these houses? And they were very good about doing that. So I think keeping this gives us the option on some of those weird rain events that we get. Then the community cleanups. Currently, we have 36 40-yard roll-offs in that contract. We actually use 40. They haven't charged us for them, thankfully. But the 4 events that we have with 4 10-yard, 10 40-yard roll-offs, which is a lot, they all fill up. So I really want to make sure that whatever we do, we're doing 40-yard roll-offs in that contract because it's a very popular event. It helps out a lot of our communities. And I will even say some of the really small businesses where we have some of our locals that are going around picking up stuff for residents, they actually bring it there. So it's actually kind of helping with some small businesses. Then city facilities. So our contractor does the trash and the compost. We have been this whole summer auditing. I have an intern specifically. We've been jumping in the dumpsters, finding out how much is being recycled, how much is trashed. And then we're looking at composting, so we've been trying to figure out how to right-size everything, because as we add new facilities, if we don't go through and right-size our trash, it will actually increase the facility rate of our contract. So we've been going through and right-sizing, we've been removing some, we've been making some smaller, and then we're finding out where we need to increase on that diversion with recycling. So just letting staff go through and finish that right-sizing process, but we do want to add compost to all the city facilities. We've got a lot of people, a lot of employees who are wanting to recycle or to compost, and we have them as leaders within those divisions to help us make that a successful program. And then I have been in talks with the Parks Department. They are interested in having compost at the sports complexes. It would not be an immediate thing, but it is something that we'd be looking at in the future, just because there is a lot of food there. Then multifamily, we have the contract to do multifamily recycling there, just keeping it as it is. We are wanting to look at to-go pizza boxes. So one thing when we audited, we have a recycling competition every year, and we pull out a lot of to-go pizza boxes in the recycling cart, and really it should go into the compost. So we're looking at, with our provider, or even if it's somebody else, of doing special dumpsters, and you may have seen that say cardboard only. Well, these would be to-go pizza boxes only that would go at these complexes. It is a lot. It is really, we had 2 stacks this high at one complex during an audit one time. It's amazing. So being able to divert that and not have it go into the recycle and contaminate it is really helpful. So the trash, they contract for their own trash. We don't do anything with that. We did look at that at one point in 2016. We did outreach with property managers. We looked at how that rate schedule would look because we have 4 different types of apartments in town. We've got conventional, senior, low income, and student-based. So we would have to do a tiered system and the sizes of them because it could not be all equal cost. Property managers and owners really came out and said, don't do this. A lot of them have national contracts because they have national complexes, so they really came out and said, please don't do that, and council never gave direction, but we're saying, let's keep it as it is, let them go ahead and contract for their own garbage service. But it is something where it's talked about with different haulers, that if you add this, they can give an economies of scale also with your residential to make it lower. So commercial businesses, I just throw this in because it's another conversation that comes up every now and then. If we did an all-inclusive provider, which is this provider would do it not just for residential, but for all businesses in San Marcos, it could be a lower rate for residential, but when we talked about this in the comp plan in 2010 to 2012, the businesses came out and said, no, we'd like to be able to shop and do the market that we need for our business. So we're suggesting not to do that, but I just bring it up because it's always something that comes up. And then, but another option, because I know we have a lot of residents and customers who want those businesses to recycle, is to look at a universal recycling ordinance, which would say they would need to recycle, and there would be some metrics that would go with that they would have to report to us. It was a 2-year process in the city of Austin, so it would be a process, but it is an option for us to do. finally, special uses in our contract that we have. We have roll-offs at the 40 acres for all of the parks and downtown and bus stop containers. They all go out there, there's trash and there's recycle. We have 2 40 yards for trash and a 30 yard for trash. They get full, and during the summer tubing season, we've added an extra 40-yard trash. All get full very quickly. They're hauled or termed or serviced, however you want to use the word, twice a week. So that's how much waste we're generating in our parks, downtown, and bus stops. But this is also any illegal dumping that we pick up goes out there. And we have had an increase in abandoned homeless encampments, and so us cleaning up there, that material goes out there as well. So we might want to look at adding another 40-yard just for that. And then special events in our contract, we have Sights and Sounds. They get trash and compost. And then the river cleanups, we have the spring in there. We don't have the fall. We'd like to add the fall river cleanup since that was an event that was created in 2015. Just adding that. I will say all other events, they're not maybe lined out in here like Sights and Sounds is. It did start out as a city event. All other events, they do use the city waste containers at parks because most of those events are at parks, and so they use our eco stations, and there's a trash, compost, and recycle there. Other things that we would like to look at is environmental issues. So we have been, before there was a sustainability committee, and they really wanted to look at our greenhouse gas emissions. So those are things that we could look at in adding, whether it's not traveling material as far, or are they using electric vehicles, because there are electric garbage trucks now, or are they using some kind of alternative fuel, and then other sustainability management options that the industry is always evolving, so there's lots of things coming up in that. So if this is the way we go, the potential timeline is going to take about 12 to 18 months, and that's being generous. I mean, it's at least our purchasing department is really busy right now, and making sure we're getting everything in the RFP correctly that we need to have in there. And we're hoping, if it's not TDS and you decide to go this way, it takes 90 to 120 days to change out all the carts. Everybody does not have the same set of carts. While a lot of them are the base rate, a lot of them have an extra trash cart or an extra recycle cart or a combination of anything. We have a lot of that, and we would have to go through and verify all of these residents and then make sure that those are being delivered to those residents and being picked up at the same time. So that's just a potential timeline. So considerations for this work session is the timeline, transition and customer service, possibly doing the second 5-year extension on the existing contract, and then garbage service options in the future. Just all of those questions I just kind of laid out there as recommendations.
Okay, council. First, do you have any questions on anything that, can I say this first? Thank you for what you do and for what TDS does and all of our employees that are pitching in to make as much of this as possible work. I appreciate it, and I know our community does. So I just want to say a big thank you first.
Thank you.
Okay, council? Questions? We got a whole lot of questions that I'm going to be asking you here. So if you have questions in a minute, that's okay. Mr. Gleason?
Yeah,
I have-
want
Oh,
to
just kidding.
thank Ms. Tomatis for all the work putting into this, and I know this isn't an easy thing to do, and there's a lot into this, too. This is not just simply trash service. So I appreciate the presentation. Now, Mayor, I'm ready for you to go down your list. I know you probably have 10 things here to individually ask us about.
Ms. Garza's got some questions, and so does Mr. Mendoza. Ms. Garza?
I don't have questions so much as just like for the future, I think it would be awesome to have here just like a write-up of like the community cleanups and like I guess what geographic areas are using those services the most, like bulk pickups and stuff like that. I think that would be helpful. I think I asked for that last time.
So
Yeah, Ms. Tomatis can provide that.
I can provide that. Also, what we are looking at is taking all of that and actually putting it in a map so it's more visual and you can see where everybody is coming from. We do collect data on bulk pickups, brush drop-off, and community cleanups, as well as household hazardous waste, and now the reuse warehouse. People dropping off and picking up at the reuse warehouse. So we do have all of that data, and we can work on getting, I think maps might be easier to read
Yeah, for
than
sure.
just a bunch of
Yeah.
addresses, so we can work on getting those
For
maps.
community cleanups, the map would be great.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, because I think the services are awesome. I've always had a great experience. I think some neighbors still are unclear about some of them. Every time I have reference or like referred neighbors to reach out to the city in regard of anything related to Texas disposal systems, I've gotten really good feedback from them that, you know, they got their answers, question, all that. But it'd be just cool to see like what the geographic distribution is of these services. So if there are gaps, like are some parts of town not using bulk pickups as much as others, or and just like everything else, like are some areas, whenever y'all are doing those audits, you know, is there like hot spots where we can increase education? You know what I mean? I think that would be awesome. Because I do know you guys are pretty great at going out there just to kind of get the sense of like who's recycling. Is there some misunderstandings on like what can or can't be recycled and all that? I've gotten one of those little tickets before. It was the one time and y'all caught me slipping, like the little notes where it's like that doesn't go in there. But yeah, that'd be great. But that's really all I have.
I think y'all work on that. Maybe we just don't know what all y'all are doing in
Yes.
that respect.
So, exactly, and we have actually talked this week, I guess it is only Tuesday, it seems like forever, about going to the new neighborhoods now. We did audit in 2020, the whole city, everybody got hit 3 times, but we are talking about going to the new neighborhoods and really seeing how they're doing with this.
Okay.
And then we do have some areas where we have other issues, and it's taking a little bit of our time right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I think generally the services are great. I just want to make sure all our neighbors know about them. That way they can take advantage of them. So thank you. I appreciate it. That's all I got.
All right.
Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Staff?
Mr. Vides, could you go back one slide? Perfect. I just wanted to sort of recap that the way this presentation is set up is to let you all discuss
Yeah.
those 2 items, and then should you choose to move forward with the RFP, then we have a whole list of things that I know you want to work through.
Yeah, I got
Thank
the
you.
the list in front of me. But I think reviewing how it's working now is not bad. But yes, this is what we're being asked to do this evening. Mr. Mendoza?
Thank you, Mayor. Mrs. Tomites, thank you very much for everything you do also, but I'm not too sure if this is a staff answer or if I should send it to you. What is the average cost, or what does it cost us before in the past to do the bidding process?
What does it cost?
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
since the last bid was before I worked for the city, I wouldn't know. I'd have to get that information for you.
Is this something that, well, I guess, I'm just curious, if you can get the number for me of what it would cost us for, negotiating, the timeframe it would be, $50,000, $60,000 for a city to look at bids again. Thank you.
It's time.
Yeah.
It's
just
staff
gonna be
time.
Staff time.
I know that having been here during the last negotiation process, it is a significant amount of staff time. When you look at a 12 to 18-month time frame for putting that together, that's working through actually developing all the things that go into an RFP. So all of the different services, but then also getting the responses back, doing the evaluation, doing the interviews, all of that. So, and then the transition time that it would take if we were to go to a new provider for them to get new carts and get those deployed and all that. So it's going to be hard to quantify because there's so much that's involved in it. But just, we wanted to give you the time, the reference in terms of the time frame, because while staff is putting these complexities together, then it means they go off of something else. So that's really it. We have that purchasing that's centralized, and they're responsible for all the procurements throughout the city. So just want to be mindful in giving you all the information to make a best informed decision.
Mr. Scott?
Didn't we contract TDS like in 2010? Or was it 11?
The first one was
For-
2003.
The first contract?
The first contract was 2003.
3, okay,
And 2008 was the first 5-year extension on it.
Okay.
The original contract. And then 2009, you added single-stream recycling. In 2010 to 11, you added multifamily recycling. It's just been since 2009, there have been additions to the contract just because the industry has evolved.
that's kind of what I wanted to point out, actually, that it's grown to fit, it's tailor-made for our community, and it's like, why would you even try to get something else? There's nobody else that could even compete with them for the service, for the price. I mean,
Yeah, I'm going to go around the table and ask that question of everyone.
okay. But anyway, I think that we just need to extend it, move on.
Let's see, next is Mr. Prather.
No, I was gonna say, I've been impressed with TDS this past decade plus. I think they've been a great community partner. If there's anything that I would like to see more, and I guess we'll kind of go into a little bit of that, you know, more of the neighborhood cleanups, more of the community events. I know we toured their facility a few months back, and one of the things that kind of left an impression on me, besides their recycling, because there's been a little bit of people that say they recycle, but really they just take and move their recycling goods overseas to another trash yard on the other side of the world. But they were doing a lot of the recycling there in-house, so that was really impressive. But also they were turning, like, I guess, and putting carbon into like concrete blocks that you could use for construction projects, growing mature trees that you could use for planting purposes. So if we could expand on, you know, possibly partnering more with those kind of things, more community involvement with community events, cleanups, things like that. But I've been impressed so far in this decade plus partnership with TDS.
So to touch on that, when I did ask a couple of years ago, when I talked with Kelly Eby, our urban forester, about more trees that were needed in San Marcos Plaza Park, I asked them to donate trees, and they donated over $3,000 worth of trees from their whole project that they have there.
And they have some pretty substantial trees
They
to
got really
offer.
big trees, yes, really big trees.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Well, thank you. I'm also, I think they're doing a great job. But I don't think it hurts, and maybe I misunderstood, to get another person to bid. They charge us to come bid in our projects?
So I think they don't charge us to come bid, it's just staff time and going through the whole bid process. So they don't charge us for them to come bid, no.
Yeah, because I
But we
figured,
are looking at all of the different options, so, when we started with TDS, it was garbage twice a week and an 18-gallon bin for recycling that had to be sorted. When we changed it to that, single-stream recycling, I mean, we demanded that from them. They didn't have their MRF. They built their MRF because of our demands on that. So we increased the recycling capacity, and now we've added something else. So it's just looking at making sure that, and then we're offering the greenway. So our residents are expecting certain level of service, which is gonna be at least weekly garbage, every other week recycle, and every other week greenway. So it's just making sure that whoever is gonna be the contractor is able to do all of those things.
right. Have we looked at New Braunfels and see what they're paying?
So
Compare
I-
apples to apples, more or less.
So nothing is apples to apples anywhere. Because
just-
I have it, it's the new fiscal year, so we're still collecting data from a couple of other cities.
Okay.
But we have our garbage rate compared to cities in the region and some other cities in Texas of what their service is, how often their trash is picked up, and with the size carts, and the price for each one. How often do they have recycled? Do they have greenways? How often is that picked up? Do they get bulk pickups? Do they have community pickups? Do they have an HHW, pharmaceutical, all this stuff? We are gathering all that. We do this annually to see how we are rating within the region, and we are always comp to everybody, but we have way more service, way more service.
Good. Back when I got on the council, they came back and they asked for an increase because the price of gas was going up. Jane, you might remember that or not. and we went ahead and modified, I guess, the contract. Did they ever come back down after the prices went back down, or it stayed?
So the original contract had a CPI increase annually.
Consumer
which-
Price Index.
Consumer Price Index increase annually, which fluctuated a whole lot. One year it could have been 2%, the next year it would have been 5%. So in 2015, when we realigned everything and added all that stuff, we actually did a fixed increase of 3%, which seemed to be about the average of if you did all the different increases. Last year, they asked for an increase, and we gave them the dollar surcharge just for the year because of all the different gas, cost of supplies, everything else. They're not getting it now. We took it away. It was just a
Good for
one-year
you.
thing.
Well, once again, I think they're doing a good job, but I don't think it would hurt just to get some other proposals. Amy, thank you very much for a great job that you are doing. Thank you.
My question is there anyone in the area that does everything that TDS does today?
Not as a single contractor. I know that, and a lot of them don't do green waste. I'm still trying to do that research, because it could be that a hauler will contract with, or subcontract with a MRF or a composting company, but I haven't seen, except for the city of Austin, who is contracted with a different composting hauler that's local to them. I have not seen another one do that unless it's been a total city run where they own the trucks and the fleet and they did the pickup.
Yeah, we don't want to do that anymore.
No, I don't want to.
Yeah, I
It
think
would
we
be a
did
big
that
cost.
long time ago, and I'm glad we don't hire people that are experts in that field and they can own the trucks.
Well, and the other part that the whole industry is having is they're having a hard time keeping drivers, or they're all going to the oil industry where they can make a lot more money.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, council, the first question is, do we want to go out for an RFP or not? And then whether or not we do, we'll go through and we'll answer some of the or all the questions that were in the presentation. So my first question is, do you want to go out for RFP, or do you want to stay with our current contractor that's been our contractor for 20 years now? And has done everything we need them to do, and aren't we sometimes in San Marcos the pioneer, the
Yes.
first group? to-
Yes, we were their first pay-as-you-throw, first single stream. We were their second, and it hurts my heart to say that, second for green waste. Kyle got it first. I know, I'm trying. But if we get the to-go pizza boxes, which they've told me they are willing to do, then we'll be there first for that.
Okay.
And what I will say is recently, we did meet with their team, and they were very complimentary of us, of Ms. Tomites, and said they work with a lot of different municipalities, and she's always very forward-thinking in terms of how to get more sustainable options for our community, and also how to make sure that that stays affordably priced for our residents. So just wanted to give that shout out that we got from them about her and all the, the foresight that she has in planning for these types of services.
As they should appreciate her. All right. Mr. Prather, I'll start with you.
Yeah, just to kind of echo that, Amy, and I know this is something you're very passionate about, and your work, it clearly shines. This is something you care about, and I'm just thankful that you're in this position for our city and for our community. I would like to stick with TDS, renew our contract, see if we can drive a better bargain for our citizens and for our community. But I would like to stick with TDS.
All right. Mr. Scott?
Just everything Jude just said will work for me as well. So I would like to stay with them as well.
Thank you. Mr. Gleason?
I don't have a little more to say on it, but I am going to be in favor of going forward with an RFP. This is nothing against TDS at all. I want them to know that. They've been a great partner. I've been very, very happy with my services for over 20 years. I get zero complaints, and I don't know that somebody can quite compete with everything that they do. But I would like to move forward with an RFP.
Okay. Ms. Garza?
I would not like to move forward with an RFP. I think we have a super solid infrastructure of a menu of services. I am interested again in the geographic distribution and seeing how we can build on those community outreach educational efforts to make sure that each of our neighbors maximizes all those services. So that's my rationale, and that's where I stand at the moment.
So you're a stay with TDS?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Thank you.
build on that. Mhm.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gonzalez?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm in favor of going out with the RFP.
Mr. Mendoza?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, Amy, you and I know we have a working relationship for a decade now. I honestly went out to certain neighborhoods and I tried to find a reason not to stick with TDS. I asked certain residents, please give me the negative you could. Everybody was just very happy, especially the fact that they were asking, well, who does our services? And I'd rather hear that than bad things about who does our services. The issue I'm having right now, Mayor, and my colleagues here, is we have an invitation to visit a competitor on Thursday to visit their facilities. And as much as I do appreciate TDS right now and everything that they've done, given the invitation, I don't feel comfortable with voting to stick with the contract until I give the other organization a chance to at least see their facilities. So at this particular moment, I have to say that I'm in favor for the RFP.
RFP.
Yes.
I just realized I skipped myself. I am totally happy with TDS, and I'm not sure that there is anyone else who can even bid on everything that's there, at least as one entity. And whether or not we've had that tour or not, that's not going to be what the decision is. There'll be an RFP done, it will be out, companies will be able to bid on it, and what we see this week will not really be relevant to the purchasing process, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What I'm concerned about is cost. Is there, that's often why we do an RFP, is to see if there's someone out there doing it cheaper. I also remember one time when we did that and we ended up paying more. I won't mention which contract it was, but you may know.
And that is a risk, just because this contract was originally done in 2003, and we're looking at a different kind of climate right now. I'm only going to say that because in the industry, there's a problem getting drivers, there's a problem getting trucks and carts, and getting parts for those trucks. So those just things to think about.
But that's industry-wide, correct?
That's industry-wide.
Yeah.
Mayor, can I throw one more thing out too?
Sure.
My big concern with this, besides cost also, is that this being done properly. It's something that seems very simple, but it can be very complicated. And if this gets screwed up, we could see a lot of trash in the front of City Hall. And just because, there, in times when cities have had problems with this, there's a revolt when trash doesn't get picked up very quickly, and rightfully so. And that's one of my big concerns with this too. So as much as I want to move forward, that's one of my hesitations, is that we have a service that works, we don't get any complaints, that why should we move forward with request for proposal? And it's mainly just because philosophically I think that's the right thing to do to the taxpayers. But I do have some serious concerns about how that would play out over that 90 to 120-day transition. I have big concerns about that. So as much as we were talking about cost, I wanted to throw that out there, that is definitely in the back of my mind of the ramifications of that if we don't do this properly.
And staff time that it would take to do all that.
I'm going to say stick with TDS. And if I have that correct, that's Mr. Prather, Mr. Scott, me, and Ms. Garza. That gives 4.
Actually, Mayor, I'm sorry, that you explained to me that this has nothing to do with the purchasing process, the tour we would be taking on Thursday?
That's why I was asking, is there anyone in the area, because you can't get somebody from Minnesota
Right.
doing this. There's got to be somebody nearby who can do everything that TDS can do today.
Currently, I haven't seen it.
And
I do have faith in both Mrs. Tomiti's department and with TDS. Given again that this tour that we're going to have is not going to have anything to do with the purchasing,
nope, it's informational.
I
but-
would like to go ahead and stay with TDS then.
Okay.
I will retract the R
Okay.
and go with TDS.
So, we'll stick with TDS. However, there are questions and there are recommendations from staff. So if we could go to that slide, which I think is the next one. And I will tell you, we can go through these one by one. I'm good with staff recommendation. Just go with it. So are you?
Yeah, I was,
Okay.
yeah. I think the extra options, the extra recyclables, keep the 40-yard pickup, the increase to 40-yard, yeah.
So I do want to address Councilmember Prather. He talked about wanting to do more community cleanups. That's going to require more roll-offs, and that does cost money.
Right.
So when I have had to purchase, say, 4 40-yard roll-offs for an event, that was about $3,000 to $5,000, depending upon what's in it. So just looking at
But
this,
can you come back with just those few? And I need to get answers from Ms. Garza and from these gentlemen here. Are y'all good with the staff recommendation? Ms. Garza?
I think from the presentation, my current understanding of what's offered, I am. I reserve the right to have other opinions later.
Yeah, I think we will see, I hope we see something again where there may be some things, for example, the question that you asked and what that costs and what does that divide out to amongst each ratepayer? I'll say ratepayer, but anyway. So a little more information before we make those decisions that y'all are still thinking about and evaluating. But as far as all these things that says keep what we have, keep what we have, keep what we have, I'm good with all that. You too?
I'm good as well. The only question I have, if for some reason on that weekend for a bulk, not a bulk pickup, but a pickup there at by the animal shelter, does it get rescheduled or does just?
so in May, I had it all scheduled to, we just recently had this. So in May, we had it scheduled, and we have the roll-offs delivered on Friday morning because it's just easier for them to get them set out. Friday afternoon, the event was canceled because of impending weather. Because they had already been delivered, it's considered a service that had already been done. And, yeah, so I rescheduled it for June, and that's when it cost me 4 40-yard roll-offs, which means I ran out of money for September. But we can work with our provider now, if we have to ask those things.
Okay.
So when the,
Ms.
for your,
Reyes, can you hold on just a second?
sorry.
Mr. Mendoza, are you good with the staff recommendation? Okay, thank you.
I'm so sorry, Mayor. I just wanted to ask a question. So as far as like with the extension, since we've gotten direction to move forward with the extension, would that come back to council?
It doesn't have to come back to council, but I do want to address maybe some of their, we can add into that, what we can add into that contract. I mean, we're asking to add some things. I heard more trees, maybe some more cleanups, and just what that cost would be. For anything that is a cost, you would know what that cost is. I'm pretty sure some things would not have a cost, like the trees, we can get so much a year maybe. But those are things we will negotiate with the current contractor.
So what I'm hearing is it's not required, but we can put it on the agenda for
I'm
council
thinking
to.
it would, since council approved it, I think they should approve the extension
Okay.
unless the contract specifically stated the city manager can approve the extension, but
Okay,
I think
perfect.
that's the safest way to go. Bring
Yeah,
it
I
back.
think we would like to see it and see what the extras are, because I know you're
Absolutely.
still evaluating some of those, Ms. Tomites, and that's fine. We're interested in what you have to say.
The other thing too, Mayor, with us potentially seeing it again, it gives a chance for the public to participate.
Yes.
Right.
And some comments on what they might like to see added or taken away.
I'm 100% supportive of bringing it back.
Okay,
I just wanted to get that clarification of process, just to get that clear direction, but I'm 100% supportive. So we'll do that, we'll bring that extension back, and then also. Excuse me? It's gonna take some time for us to negotiate.
Yeah, can we do it in 2024?
Yeah, I'm not,
Okay.
I'm not
Yes.
asking you to do anything different from what you have planned.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, when is it planned?
So the second extension starts October 1, 2025, but we can bring it back in 2024. And I'd say mid-year 2024 with any kind of modifications to it and any cost if there are any.
Okay, that's fine.
So we'll bring that back at the appropriate time, and then we'll also get y'all some information, if it's a memo or something that just kind of goes through some of the things like Ms. Garza requested, Mr. Prather, and some of you others also talked about, so we'll get y'all that information ahead of time.
Yeah, the map of the cleanup location should be
Correct.
fairly easy.
Yes. The rates, I know Mr. Gonzalez asked about that too, so
Exactly.
we'll get that info together.
And we will, we'll need to know what the impact's gonna be, because nothing's cheaper than it was before.
Right.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to do? Ms. Reyes, Ms. Tomites, Mr. Carr, Mr. Dapp, are we?
I just want to add this
go
comment that Ms. Tomites is always out there working hard.
She's a rock star.
And we appreciate that. Not too working hard, but taking care of stuff, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, so that concludes item 1, and our next item is executive session. Mr. Trevino?
The City Council will convene an executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Government Code: A, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney to receive advice of legal counsel regarding pending litigation in the matter of Eric Cervini et al. Versus Chase Stapp, Brandon Wickenwerder, Matthew Danzer, and the City of San Marcos, Civil Action Number 121-CB-00568-RP, in the United States District Court, Western District of Texas, Austin Division. B, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney to receive advice of legal counsel regarding the regulation of land uses near the city's airport.
We'll entertain a motion by Mr. Scott, seconded by? I'll second that. Okay, seconded by Mr. Gleason. Let's vote. Are we voting with the buttons or not?
No, not today, ma'am.
Because we're on Zoom.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Mayor Houston?
Aye.
Ms. Garza?
Aye.
Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza?
Aye.
And Mr. Prather. Motion passes 7-0.
All right, so we will go into executive session at 3:57. And I'll give y'all 5 minutes for a bio break, and then we'll see you back in the, from our executive session, which concluded at 5:10. And I have on our list question and answer from 2 people, Carolyn Lone and Sarah Lone, and I don't believe they're here, but Stephanie, can you see who that is? No, it's not them, okay. Okay, I believe that they may have gotten everything resolved earlier, so at this point, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion from Mr. Scott, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Gleason. Mr. Trevino?
Mr. Gleason?
Aye.
Mayor Houston?
Aye.
Ms. Garza?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez? Aye. Mr. Mendoza? Aye. Mr. Prather? Aye. And Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
And we are adjourned at 5:14.